Here we're practicing 10.2, go with parabolas. So we're gonna tell whether the parabola opens up, down, left, or right. That's it. So, yep. We're starting off with an x squared, so that's gonna be either up or down. So then look at if the multiplier in front of the y is positive or negative. If it's positive, it's going up. If it's negative, it's going down. So this one's negative, so we're going down. Number 2 looks very similar. It's an x squared as well, which means it's either up or down, except for now we have a positive in front of the y, so it is going up. Here we have a y squared. That means it's going to either open right or left. Because this is a positive in front of the x, it's going to open right. Here's a y squared again, so it either opens right or left. Because we have a negative, p is less than 0, the multiplier there, it's going to be left. All right. Given the following equations, identify the directrix and sketch a graph. So, we're going to want to realize that in this one it's going to be opening up. However, let's take this multiplier out in front. We want to figure out what P is because that's our focus. That's part of our focus and it's part of our directrix equation. So really we want to know, well, x squared equals 4p times y. So this 2 represents the 4 times p. So we're really doing calculation to figure out, well, if 4p equals 2, what does p equal? So we divide by 4. So you get p equals 1/2. So that means, because this looks like this row right here, our focus is going to be at 0, 1/2, or 0.5, and our directrix will be a horizontal line at -1/2. So let's graph what's going on. Let's start with the parabola. Remember, these parabolas always go through the origin, and we can just kind of, if it opens up, make sure it opens up, and otherwise just try to make it a nice symmetrical U. Try to make sure it goes through the origin, like I said. It matters here on this one because the margins of error are pretty tight. So the focus is a point inside the parabola, so that's at 0, 1/2, and then the directrix is a line outside of the parabola. So there we are. So there's our focus and our directrix. And the values that we got, because remember, when it's y, it's going to be a horizontal line when it's y equals some number. Those look good. Number 6, get it to look like one of these setups, either x squared by itself or y squared by itself. This equation has a y squared, so I'm going to add 16x to get y squared by itself to undo the negative 16x. So that's what we have. Now remember, this parallels the equation y squared equals 4p times x. So what I need to know is what p is. So there's a 16 in place of the 4p. So doesn't that mean that p has to be equal 4? You can set 4p equal to 16 and then solve it, but p equals 4. So now we're looking at when y squared has a positive 4, or a positive p value. So that would be this example right here. So we're looking at this row. So our focus is going to be 4, 0. We plug that p value in right away. It represents the x, y is 0. And the directrix is going to be a vertical line. So x equals -4. And if we graph this, again, this one opens right. So make a parabola through the origin. Rotate that U so it's facing this way. And now our focus, again, is a point that should be in the parabola, in the middle of it. So that's 4, 0. That looks good. x equals -4 is a vertical line through -4. That looks good. There we are. Excuse me. Write the standard form of the equation of a parabola with the given focus and a vertex at 0, 0. So we can use those rules that we've been learning. So if our focus is at -2, 0, remember that is our p-value. And then I should paste this thing in again. It's good to use what we have. So if our focus is at -2, 0, which one of these actually has a focus or a number other than 0 for the x? It's one of these two. Now which one has a p-value of less than 0 or a negative? It's this one. So our template here is this. So you determine that by where the p-value is, whether it's x or y. These are in place of y, these are in places of x's, which is our situation here, and then whether it's positive or negative. Positive, negative, positive, negative. So we're looking at, again, this one right here. So I know my p is -2. So I do y squared equals 4 times -2 times x. Now simplify that. So y squared equals -8x. Let's try number 10. Number 10, the p-value for the focus is now the y. So that would be one of these two. And it's negative, so it would be this one. So I know I'm using the second row right here. X squared equals 4 times -1, my p-value that they told me right there, times y. So y equals -4. X squared equals -4y. There we are. Lastly, for this row, they give us our p-value as an x, which would be down here. So we're dealing with the y squared, but it's positive, so it's going to be this third row. So I'm going to copy this template right here. Y squared equals 4 times, now we know p is 1/2 times x. So y squared equals 2x. There we are. Last row, home stretch. Write the standard form of the equation of a parabola with the given directrix. Now this is the directrix. Let's paste that table back in there. There we go. So now we're looking at this column. Our directrix is -1, and it's an x equal, so it's got to be this one right here. It's the third row. Now careful here, if the directrix is x equals -p, that actually means that our p-value is the opposite. It's +1. Right, our focus coordinate is actually the literal value of p. The directrix value for p is the opposite. So since they gave me a -1 for the directrix, I have to do the opposite to get my actual p-value. So I'm using y squared equals 4 times 1 times x. So y squared equals 4x. Next, we know my directrix equation is y equals -3. So that would be, that would be which row here? So it's going to be the first or the second. Now, careful, we should actually be looking over here. The opposite of -3 is +3. So that means that our p-value is actually +3. That means that the focus happens at 0, +3, which means that it's got to be this one. So our p-value is always opposite of whatever the directrix value is, and then that puts us on the top row since it's positive. So we're using this equation, x squared equals 4p times y. X squared equals 4, we know p is 3, so we plug that in. So we get x squared equals 12y. Last but not least, x equals 1/4. So because it's x equals, it's going to be one of those two directrix, and it's positive. So that means our p-value is actually the opposite. It's a -1/4. So which row is this here then? Because it's a negative, we're going to use the bottom row. So y squared equals 4 times negative 1/4 times x. There we are.